differently in South Africa. It says, is it true that MBAs are not ranked equally in South Africa and around the world? That's an SMS coming in from Gabriel in Kimberley. Gabriel goes on to say, which business school would you, or schools would you recommend in South Africa? And I think that's an obvious one, Gabriel, that especially considering that the prof is the dean of the Henley Business School, South Africa. But the ranking of the different business schools and MBAs specifically in South Africa and around the world.
I think there's two things behind that question. I mean, firstly, let me answer the last bit, but who would I recommend? Well, let me just be very clear. We're blessed in South Africa to have a number of really good business schools. So the business schools here are good. So I'm not going to make a random pitch for Henley. I think have a look around. And our advantage, if you like, is we give an international qualification. Mm-hmm. We're triple accredited and we're flexible. So about the level, though, there's been...
Can you hold that thought about the level? I will be going to news shortly, and of course, Greg Close is standing by to bring us the news, and I have David on the line. David, I will be taking your call immediately after the news, and I've got another caller coming in who I will take immediately after the news. We're talking to Professor Jon Foster-Pedley, the Dean of the Henley Business School, and as we're talking about the MBA offered at the Henley Business School, and they've got a Henley MBA by flexible learning. The Prof touched on this. I want to go into it in more detail when we come back and as we wrap up with Professor Jon Foster-Pedley, Dean of the Henley Business School, South Africa. Right now, the news with Greg Close.
The Talkshop.
This is the Talkshop with me, Masechaba, Moshoeshoe, on SAfm, South Africa's news and information leader. We're talking about the MBA, specifically the Henley Business School's MBA, and we're joined in the studio by Professor Jon Foster-Pedley, the Dean of the Henley Business School. Any questions or comments regarding MBAs, give us a ring on 0891 104 207, 0891 104 207, or SMS us on 34701. SMS number is 34701, and SMS are charged at R2. Just before the news, Prof, we were responding to the question from Gabriel in Kimberley, talking about the ranking of MBAs in South Africa and around the world not being equal, and asking, is it true?
No, it's not true. The South African MBAs are some of the best in the world, and they rank on international rankings, independent rankings. They do extremely well. What happened recently was there was some talk in the media and from the Council on Higher Education about re-ranking the MBA from level 9 to level 8, postgraduate diploma, because of some of the academic criteria, particularly the entrance criteria. We've addressed that with the South African Business Schools Association very, very positively, with the Council on Higher Education, who I completely understand. I realize exactly where they're coming from, which is to try and provide quality practitioner education in South Africa. So what we're doing is we're talking to them about holding the level of the MBA in South Africa to level 9. And I hope that those talks will go ahead well. You know, for us in Henley, obviously we've got an international MBA, so to some extent we have a different point of reference, but we are fully in support of trying to make it clear. I mean, INSEAD and Harvard and those great schools, they don't require an honours degree necessarily to do an MBA, which is what we asked. But what we're looking for in South Africa is trying to develop really good education to make better managers to build a country. So that's what the Council on Higher Education is trying to do, and that's what we fully support.
And just looking at who qualifies for an MBA, I know that there was a lot of talk a couple of years ago around experiential learning. People who straight from school started working, and they've worked their way up in the various companies, but they really don't have any qualification that they can hold up and say, I've got a BA, or I've got a BCom, I've got an honours, I've got a master's. How does that work?
Well, the MBA started, I did a very quick history lesson. MBA started after the Second World War, when many military officers had been to war, hadn't completed their degrees, and needed to have a form of training that allowed them to go into business quite quickly. So it was a practitioner, generalist sort of education, and that's how it was built. And so what's happening in South Africa is that we actually need to do exactly the same sort of thing. So to do an MBA here, you need to do a degree, or an honours degree, plus 3 years management experience, or if you haven't got that, maybe 5 years management experience, or in many cases, if you haven't got that, there are possibilities for you to do an MBA if you've got a lot of practical experience. And that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, you wouldn't want to say to Richard Branson or some of our great entrepreneurs that you couldn't do an MBA. You're a gazillionaire, but you can't do an MBA. Now, that doesn't make any sense at all. So, of course, this is a very interesting debate. And this is, the MBA has a purpose, which is to make people do better at work and to improve their businesses. And that's what it's all about. And you have to keep focusing on that.
I've got a caller from Cape Town, Jandre. Jandre, hi and welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, can you hear me? Sorry for feeling bad.
Okay, we can hear you. Go ahead, Jandre. Oh, the line is terrible, as he said. Jandre, hi. Okay, no. Jandre's line is terrible. We can't hear him. We seem to have lost him. Let's talk about the flexible learning MBA offered by Henley.
Yeah, the Flexible Learning MBA is a 3-year MBA. So the idea is that if you've got a job and you've got a family and you've got kids and you want to manage this whole process, then let's do it in a humane way. And most of us are in that situation. So let's manage the MBA in such a way that it gives you, allows you to run a life as well as doing your studies. And so the 3-year MBA allows you to do that. And it's got some flexible deadlines as well. So it's extremely attractive to people who are already movers and shakers in business or moving up or starting their own businesses or just started families. People often say to me, doesn't an MBA stress a family? So I've actually got my own little things of advice on what to do in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I often find that MBAs, you come and do an MBA and it's all about you. Suddenly I'm doing an MBA and it's my partner's left out. So my advice is, first of all, what not to do. Firstly, when you're doing an MBA, don't try and teach your partner. You know what I mean? Oh, let me just try this model out on you. I've just got this new kind of method for my organizational development or new facilitation skills. Your family is not your experimental unit, so don't experiment on them. But what you should do is definitely include your family from the beginning. I mean, at Henley, what we're trying to do now is include the partners. We're going to have sessions with the partners. What's the MBA about? What's the benefit for the family? Mm-hmm. Because there's huge benefits. Sure, it costs some money, but unlike a second-hand Merc which depreciates, you're aiming to get a lot more money back from doing your MBA. So it's a positive investment. And so we try and show the benefits as well. The other thing is when you're doing the MBA, it's really important is to be predictable in your family. Try and set a schedule up, and share it. Show what your deadlines are. Show what's happening. Set a time aside that your family knows about. And so get everyone into that rhythm. And that allows them at least to manage around it. And also make time for the family as well. Take time out. Say, this time I'm not doing my studies. Because you know what it's like. You get wrapped up in your studies. Your brain's set on fire. It's on steroids. And away you go, dreaming and thinking and imagining. Stop.
Okay.
Stop. And bring your family into it and be human again. Because that's really what matters.
I'm going to try Jandre one more time. Jandre, hi.
Hi.
Yes, hello, Jandre. Welcome.
There, I can hear you guys now. I just wanted to ask a quick question. I own a small charter company and a flying school in Cape Town. Mm-hmm. I really would like to sharpen up on my leadership skills, for example, how to run the business, how to make it even more profitable. What will the MBA do for me? What's the requirements to start with this? And can I study it from Cape Town? How does it work?
Good one. Thank you so much, Jandre in Cape Town. Listen on the radio, sir.
Jandre, hi. I also used to be a pilot and a charter pilot and run a flying school.
Whoa.
And an airline pilot myself, so welcome. I completely understand where you're coming from. The answer is yes. So you've got, depending on your qualifications, it's going to be quite reasonably simple for you to do the MBA if you've got the degree. If not, we can talk around this sort of management experience you've got. Now, doing what you do, you've got a serious management task, I know. And you're working with a lot of criteria of, you have to keep things safe and you've got regulation to deal with. So it's a very responsible setup. So the MBA will take that into account in terms of allowing you to do it. The other good thing about a Henley MBA is that you can apply all the learning to your own organization. Because this is an applied learning, everything is done in projects. All the assessments are done in projects, apart from a couple of exams. So you can apply all that to building your business while you're doing the MBA. So it's extremely helpful to you. So you can orientate and contextualize the MBA to your aviation and aerospace background. So for you, I would say it's an excellent idea. And but then I'm biased.
To do it while he's in Cape Town, is that possible?
Very possible. We have a number of students in Cape Town, and we're working hard to increase their experience by increasing the amount of support that we do. For example, in the first year, we're teaching them project management skills and systems thinking skills, because it's not a matter of doing an MBA, actually. It's actually a matter of managing an MBA. Mm-hmm. So down in Cape Town, you'll have a support group, you'll work with us, you've got a distance learning material. It's extremely doable, and many people do it. And I'm also from Cape Town a lot of the time, so I'll come down and spend a bit of time with you, John, no problem. Happy to do so. So yes, it's very doable.
And the website, if one wants more information about the Henley Business School?
You've got www.henleysa.ac.za.
henleysa.ac.za
or www.henleymba.co.za.
Okay, so it's as simple as that, henleymba.co.za, henleymba.co.za, or you can visit henleysa.ac.za. Thank you so much for coming through, Prof. An absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much to Professor Jon Foster-Pedley, Dean of the Henley Business School, talking about the MBA. And of course, for those who are planning on taking this up in 2012, I say good luck to you, and I hope that the Prof's notes and advice will really work for you, and we look forward to hearing from you in terms of how it's going for you. So we will be talking about further learning and teaching in the year 2012 right here on the Talkshop with me, Masechaba Moshoeshoe. When we come back, we'll be talking to Dr. Katide. I've been talking to Professor Jon Foster-Pedley, and now I'm going to be talking to Dr. Agrippa Katide, who's pastor of the Apostolic Faith Mission of South Africa, on our Relationship Corner. And we're asking the question, can a relationship survive different religions? We're talking spirituality in relationships right after this.
We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustice of the past.